let's talk about you being head coach.
Yes.
Haven't got a chance to really chat with you about being head coach. So everything I had heard about that building was potentially that it was in ruins, okay, whenever you were brought in there.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of simpatico family in that building.
Yes.
And I asked immediately, like, how's Jeff doing? You know, how's Jeff doing in there? And a lot of people, I'm not going to say exactly who it was, but a lot of people in that building had the same message. It was like, our culture has completely gone to hell. There's people late for meetings. There's people missing treatment. There's guys gambling against the Indianapolis Colts who are actually on the team in there. It was like the building just kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
So Jeff is coming in here, and he's going to be a guy who's just going to have to take it on the shins from everybody as he has to reinstate what a professional football team looks like. Is that an accurate depiction of what you had to do? And your first day in there, were you caught off guard completely about what you were walking into?
It was more than I anticipated. I'll put it like that. I'll church it up a little bit. And there was a lot of what you're saying that was going on. So it was, but I think Irsay knew that. So like I will say, I think Irsay, I think they knew kind of where the situation was, kind of how it had gotten a bit off the rails, and kind of what it needed to look like for it to get back to you know what they envisioned. I knew going in. My conversation with Jim was, we're going to go 0-8. Like, just recognize we are
no shot.
Yeah, no. First of all, you just got rid of all of your offensive staff, right?
Yeah.
Like so. Just put that aside. We're going to walk in this room.
Parks Frazier's calling plays.
We have a 30-year-old who hasn't had a room, right? Like, he's never been in charge of a room yet. And I love Park. Great kid.
Great guy. Love him.
Great kid. No. I'm being real. And a good football guy. But,
you love him.
But he had never had his own room yet, which means for those out there that he had never been like the quarterback's coach or the receivers coach or whatever, where you're sitting in front of a room every day. So I knew we were going to have offensive challenges. We had a quarterback they weren't sure of, right? So there was a lot going in. My job when I went in was, there were two things I knew. I wanted to make sure the culture was going to get back to where it was when I was there and when you guys had seen it with productivity. And the other thing was, from the offensive line perspective, like, stop the nonsense, stop the noise. We need to get these guys back playing together. They're going to have bumps. They're going to have bruises. It's not always going to be pretty. But we got to get if the team wants to go anywhere, they put enough assets in those five, they got a ball.
Three guys getting paid more than you ever made there.
Oh, my word. Different money.
You're
bro.
in the Ring of Honor.
Oh,
This guy's in the Ring of Honor.
Money. Yeah. They got different rings, like all kind of rings they can afford. But it was definitely a challenge. But again, I never looked at it the way I think the outside looked at it. I knew what I was getting in for, and I knew what, it was there would be a lot of, like you said, beatings, press-wise, whatever it was, fan-wise. But I was glad to take the opportunity to do it.
I was going to bat for you as much as I possibly could, just because.
When you don't win, it's hard to go to bat, bro.
Well, I had to get first
one.
Yeah, just we beat the Raiders. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, the
greatest coach ever.
We had a good time.
Hot.
I was pumped for you, man. I got pretty loud after that. And then had to kind of just.
You got to come to this.
Let's just not bring it up. Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Coach. So obviously, when you get hired, some people were, talking about how they were pissed. Other guys deserve it, all that bullshit, right? How did you deal with that? Because it's not like you were saying, hey, that guy shouldn't be the head coach. I should be the head coach.
Absolutely.
You were reached out to be the head coach, and then you kind of got buried because of the fact that you'd never coached before.
Right.
Like, what was your reaction to that? And did you tell anybody, like, hey, go yourself or anything like that? Or no?
Nah, so
good discipline.
Yeah. I will say this. My biggest concern when I walked in was the coaches, like making sure. And the first meeting I ever had with these guys, hey, man, I ain't trying to pretend like I know nearly as much as you guys know about whatever position you're coaching, whatever. My job is to help you be the best at whatever. So whether it's Gus Bradley, whether it's Parks Frazier, you just looked throughout the whole building and said, what can I do to help you guys, right? And so I think everybody understood that. There's a level of humility. I wasn't trying to be like, hey, man, I have all the answers right here. We're going to walk in. We're going to correct all these problems. And I think I was for those guys, it was good because they knew I wasn't the one I wasn't beating on the desk for myself. Right? I was like, hey, man, what can I do to help fix whatever problems? Listen, they knew they're going to have to start playing young players. You think our defense wanted to go play? I mean, we sat a lot of good players to play some young guys who are now playing really good. But you think Gus wanted that? I mean,
exactly. His resume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're sitting on that. But let me tell you, if I can die on that hill for him, I'm glad to do it because he's a freaking great DC. The guy understands ball. He gets people ready to go. That was my role, right? And so that's just what you do, man. I didn't sweat all man, listen, I tell you what, I have forgotten more football than everybody who's making fun of me has ever thought, right? And so I ain't sweating it even a little bit. Like these dudes, off the couch blasting me, I get it, man. That wasn't your pick. But I will say this, too, from Jim's perspective and Chris's perspective. I think, Gus and his whole staff was brand new. Right? They had just fired the two play callers on offense. Like when you looked at the staff as a whole, there wasn't a lot of places they wanted to go, because they're going to have to look at this and revisit it at the end of the season. So it was an easy, come in, do your 8 weeks and get out, right? And so.
Did you want the job?
I wanted it under condition.
Because when I heard you wanted the job, I'm like, Jeff.
Yeah, I'll say this.
Head coach only 32 of those. That's hard,
I get it. But
I will say this. The lifestyle part for me.
That's what I'm saying.
Was the biggest, and that part when Chris and I sat down, that was the biggest. That is the biggest issue, right? Like I will tell you very frankly, I ain't gonna be there from 5 a.m. to midnight. I'm gonna let y'all know, bro. I'm gonna eat dinner with the family. And I have that Bruce Arians, Tony Dungy mentality, bro. Like we're gonna go do it, but I ain't living it. Like I'm good, right? Yeah. I'm and Jim knew that as well. He's like, hey man, if you want to do this thing, let's interview at the end, see what happens. And it was a great experience. I tell people, I had to write I got Jim Caldwell, Tony, I got all these guys. I wrote a 200-page
manifesto.
Yeah, dude, about, hey, this is what you would do with your program. Here's the type of players you
Jim?
want. No, to Chris, to Ballard. When you're presenting to Ballard and as they were going, and obviously it would go to Jim later, but as you're going through that, there was exercises that I went through that were phenomenal, man. As a leader, what do you want? What type of staff do you want? Who would you keep? Who wouldn't you keep? Player-wise, who do you like? Which direction you want to head? There is and I will say this, man, it gave me a completely different perspective for coaches. These dudes, man, they take a lot of shells.
Love ball.
Yeah. Love ball.
Love ball.
Love some ball, dude. Live it, breathe it, die, the whole deal. I mean, when I tell you there are some dudes on staff who have been doing this a long time, man. Mm-hmm. And ain't seen a kid play a sport. I'm like,
that's tough.
I'm like, nah.
That's just kind of the requirement, the expectation. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. That's why most former players you hear from, it's like, nah, I'm not born to be a coach.
Yeah. Especially ones on TV and radio.
Yes. Yeah, we're not born to do it ever.
And I didn't want to bring it up.
You did. You did.
I have to ask about it. And who cares now? The Colts are 7-5. They're going to the playoffs.
And Pancakes is the best segment on TV.
Bingo. Sat them down. Love it.
So much better than In the Trenches.
So guys, back to
that's respect, baby.
Last year, okay, when you go into the locker room in Minnesota and you're up 33-0, you guys just eating orange slices? No. Just kind of hey, we did it.
I'll be deadly honest with you. We walked in and I was like, boys, we're in trouble.
No. You sound like LeBron right now.
Listen, I went in. We didn't. I don't think we scored a point offensively. I'm dead serious. We got the ball down inside the 15-yard line, I think twice, and had to kick field goals.
Yeah.
We had a block kick, I think, for a touchdown. Everything went our way, and I was still scared to death. I was like, man, we can't get a first down. We are. When I tell you we are, so we start out the second half, and I was like, we gotta push the gas right here. So we called a shot play, and it's freaking wide open, bro. And Matt doesn't throw it. And
why? What's his deal, Jasper?
I have no idea.
Still don't know.
Whatever it was, I was like, when he didn't do it, I said to Parks, we in trouble, my man. We are in trouble. So no, and here's the other thing. I will say this, the other thing, because and listen, if you can't laugh about it, right? I ain't crying about it. So it's we could not, when they saw Jeff outside, Joseph Jefferson outside, and you saw them and just throwing the freaking back behind, and this dude is jicky-jacking and taking it to the house. And I was like, Gus, what coverage are we in? He's like, we've called them all. And we ain't stopping a soul right now. We're like, these dudes they are taking it to the house on us.
Carly Ursay's on the headset for all this, huh?
Oh, absolutely. She was making record. No, I'm just kidding. We get down. The only thing I had was we're at 4th and inches. And I was like, they were like, we can try. And I asked Bubba, I was like, hey, what do you feel about the field goal? He's like, nah, man, we need to So I was like, all right, we're going to go 4th and inches. We're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. So we go to get it, and Matt gets it, but gets it late. And so the referee's like, hey, man, the rule in the NFL is if his feet stop, the play is basically dead.
Yeah.
So when he got the ball, he kind of laid first and then started driving his feet. And the referee was like, that to me was it, right? Should we have tried a 57-yarder or whatever? Maybe. You know, how do you do it? But at the end of the day, we had our shots. We just didn't do it.
It's all right. It's historic.
Yeah. Hey, it's history, bro. It's names in the book.
Well, exactly. It's in Canton.
We're all in it.
It's in Canton. It's in there.
Make it happen.
That was Jeff Saturday. What a legend.
Yeah, appreciate y'all, man.
Absolute legend. You crush it on TV. Very lucky to be a former teammate of yours. And keep going, Jeff.
Enjoyed it.
And just keep accepting any head coaching jobs.
We can have some fun with it.
That's not on you. That's on the teams.